Amy Chen stepped through the docking port with a small carrier in her hands. Inside, something moved and grunted. The other cadets streaming into Station Omega-7 carried standard luggage, but Amy had special permission. She had spent 3 months getting the paperwork approved, arguing with bureaucrats across 5 different departments. Now she was finally here, and so was Crash. The main assembly hall buzzed with voices in dozens of languages. Some cadets communicated through translators, others used gestures. Amy found a spot near the back and set the carrier down carefully. A tall reptilian cadet nearby noticed the movement inside the container. His scales were deep green with yellow patterns, and his eyes tracked the carrier like a predator watching prey. "What is that?" he asked, his voice coming out as a hiss through the translator. "My companion animal," Amy said simply. The reptilian leaned closer. "Companion? You need emotional support?" His tone made it clear he found this amusing. "Humans are supposed to be death-worlders. You do not look very dangerous." Amy ignored the comment and opened the carrier. Crash emerged slowly, his thick gray and white fur making him look almost fluffy. He was about 3 feet long, low to the ground with small rounded ears and a white stripe down his back. The reptilian cadet stared for a moment, then laughed. It was a rasping sound that made several nearby cadets turn to look. "That is your fearsome earth beast? It looks like someone's pet." An avian cadet with blue and silver feathers hopped closer. Her species had large eyes that could see in multiple spectrums, and she studied Crash with obvious interest. "What species is it?" "Honey badger," Amy replied. "His name is Crash." "Honey badger," the reptilian repeated slowly. "Does it hunt honey? Is it related to your earth bears?" "Not exactly," Amy said. "He's from the mustelid family, related to weasels and otters." The avian cadet tilted her head. "I am Chirik. That is Esseral." She gestured toward the reptilian. "I have studied earth fauna in preparation for meeting humans." "Mustelids are carnivores, yes? But small ones," Esseral snorted. "Carnivore. Everything is a carnivore. On my world, we have hunters twice the size of your badger that would not survive a day in the wild. Size matters. Strength matters." He flexed his arm, showing dense muscle under the scales. "My people come from a high-gravity world. We are tested by real challenges." Amy started to respond, but an announcement echoed through the hall. All cadets were ordered to report to their assigned sections. She picked up Crash, who had been sniffing the floor with great interest, and followed the flow of bodies toward the dormitory wing. Her room was small but functional. 2 beds, 2 storage lockers, shared bathroom. Her roommate had not arrived yet. Amy set up Crash's sleeping area in the corner and put out his food and water bowls. The honey badger immediately began investigating every inch of the room, his nose working constantly. He tried to dig at the floor panels until Amy redirected him to a toy. "You need to behave here," she told him quietly. "No digging through walls. No attacking the furniture. We have to prove you can be here." Crash looked at her with dark eyes, then went back to examining a suspicious corner where the wall met the floor. Later that afternoon, Amy had to report to the station veterinarian for a check on Crash's health certificate. Dr. Hollis was a human woman in her 50s with gray streaks in her black hair. Her office smelled like disinfectant and something vaguely floral. She smiled when Amy entered with Crash on a leash. "Finally, another human," Dr. Hollis said. "And you brought the famous honey badger. I had to explain to the station administrator 3 times why this was approved." "I appreciate you supporting the application," Amy said. Dr. Hollis ran a scanner over Crash, checking his vital signs. The other species representatives were concerned. They thought a predator from Earth would be dangerous. She laughed. "They have no idea. Sral thinks he's harmless because he's small. Sral is the Krellin from the high-gravity world." Dr. Hollis shook her head. "His people are impressive warriors, no doubt. But they evolved on a world where everything was straightforward. Bigger is stronger. Stronger survives. Earth is not like that." Amy knew this well. She had grown up on Earth in the African reserves where honey badgers still lived wild. She had seen them face down lions. She had watched one tear apart a cobra that thought it could win. Size did not determine outcome when you had no fear and no quit. "The academy instructor wants to meet Crash tomorrow," Dr. Hollis said. "Lieutenant Bran. She is from a feline species, very proud of their hunting heritage. Be prepared for skepticism." That evening, Amy went to the cadet common area for dinner. The cafeteria offered food for dozens of species, each section carefully separated to avoid contamination. She collected her meal and sat at an empty table. Chirrut landed on the seat across from her a moment later. "May I join you?" "Of course," Amy said. "Esseral was telling others about your honey badger," Chirrut said carefully. "He thinks it is funny that you need such an animal for support. I do not think he means to be cruel. His culture values strength above all else." "I understand different perspectives," Amy replied. "But Crash is not just for emotional support. He is teaching the Academy about Earth fauna. What makes honey badgers special?" Amy considered how to explain it. "They are tough. Really tough. They have thick skin that is hard to bite through. They heal fast from injuries. They do not back down from anything, no matter how big." Chirrut's feathers ruffled with interest. "No fear response?" "Oh, they feel fear. They just do not let it stop them. On Earth, we have a saying about honey badgers. They do not care. They just keep going." "Fascinating," Chirrut said. "Evolutionary pressure from a death world created a small predator with determination beyond its physical capability." "Exactly." Sral approached their table with his meal tray. He sat down without asking, his large frame making the chair look small. "You are the interesting cadets. The human with her pet and the Velian who thinks too much." He looked at Amy. "Tomorrow we have combat assessment, physical trials. I am curious to see how soft-worlders perform." Amy met his eyes steadily. "You might be surprised." Sral showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. "I hope so. Competition is boring without challenge." As they ate, more cadets filtered into the cafeteria. Amy noticed the looks directed at their table. The mixture of species was unusual. Most cadets stayed with their own kind. But something about this group felt different. Chirrut asked intelligent questions. Esral, despite his arrogance, seemed genuinely curious about other worlds. And Amy had Crash, who was currently sleeping in her room and dreaming whatever honey badgers dreamed about. She had a feeling this was going to be an interesting semester. The training ground stretched across an entire section of Station Omega 7. Lieutenant Bran walked along the line of cadets with her tail swishing behind her. Her species had evolved from pack hunters on a world with dense forests and plenty of prey. She had golden fur with black spots and eyes that could track the smallest movement. "Today we assess your physical capabilities," she announced. Her voice did not need a translator. Most species in the Academy learned Galactic Common. Each species has different strengths. "We need to know what you can do." The first test was endurance running. The track circled the training ground, marked with distance indicators every 100 meters. Esral went first, his powerful legs eating up the distance. He ran hard and fast, but after 2 kilometers he began to slow. His breathing grew heavy. At 3 kilometers he stopped, hands on his knees. "Good performance," Lieutenant Brand said, marking her data pad. "High-gravity species excel at short bursts next." Several other cadets ran. Most fell into similar patterns. Fast starts, quick fatigue. Chirrut flew above the track instead of running. But the exercise tired her wings after only a few laps. When Amy's turn came, she set a steady pace. Not fast, but consistent. She controlled her breathing, keeping her heart rate manageable. 1 kilometer passed. Then 2. At 3 kilometers, where Sral had stopped, Amy kept going. Her legs burned, but she knew this feeling. Human bodies were built for this. Her ancestors had hunted prey by chasing it until it collapsed from exhaustion. 4 kilometers, 5. Other cadets watched with growing interest. At 7 kilometers, Lieutenant Brand called a halt. "Sufficient data collected," the instructor said. But her ears were tilted forward with curiosity. "That is unusual endurance for your size." "Humans are pursuit predators," Amy explained, still catching her breath. "We can run for a long time." Sral stared at her. "But you are smaller than me, lighter. Your muscles are not as dense." "Different adaptations," Amy said. "Your world made you strong and fast. My world made us stubborn and hard to kill." The next test involved lifting weights calibrated to each species' size. Sral excelled here, hoisting masses that would crush most cadets. Amy's performance was average. She did not pretend to be stronger than she was. But when Lieutenant Bran introduced the pain tolerance test, things changed. The device sent controlled electrical pulses through the body, gradually increasing in intensity. Cadets held a grip as long as they could stand it. Most released after the 3rd or 4th pulse. Sral made it to 6 before dropping the handle with a hiss of discomfort. Amy picked up the device. The first pulse felt like pins and needles. Second pulse sharper. Third, like a muscle cramp. She breathed through it. 4th pulse made her jaw clench. Fifth felt like fire. Sixth, worse. She held on. Seventh, eighth. Lieutenant Brand's eyes widened. At the 10th pulse, Amy finally let go, her hand shaking. How? Esrael demanded. That should be unbearable. It is unbearable, Amy replied. But bearable and possible are different things. Humans feel pain. We just do not stop because of it. Lieutenant Brand made a note on her datapad. Impressive. Your species has psychological resilience beyond your physical parameters. Later, in the xenobiology lab, an instructor named Dr. Venn showed images of predators from different worlds. He was a crystalline being who spoke through vibrations in the air. His translator turned the sounds into words. Predator classification depends on many factors: size, speed, sensory capability, hunting strategy. Most apex predators combine multiple advantages. Images of massive creatures filled the screens. Six-legged beasts with armor plating, serpents that could swallow prey whole, flying hunters with wingspans of 20 meters. Earth has produced unusual predators, Dr. Venn continued. Persistence hunters who exhaust prey over distances, ambush predators who wait days for one strike, and the mustelid family, which includes honey badgers, small predators with disproportionate ferocity. A video played showing a honey badger fighting a cobra. The snake struck repeatedly, but the badger's thick skin prevented effective envenomation. The badger attacked relentlessly, biting and clawing until the cobra retreated. Another clip showed a honey badger raiding a beehive, ignoring thousands of stings to reach the food inside. Esrael watched in silence. When the presentation ended, he approached Amy. Your animal, Crash, he would really fight like that? Yes, Amy said simply. Even against something bigger? Especially against something bigger. Honey badgers do not know how to back down. That afternoon, Amy brought Crash to the station's controlled environment park. It was a space where cadets could exercise their companion animals safely. A security beast was being walked by its handler on the other side of the park. The creature was built like a tank, standing 4 feet tall at the shoulder with thick plates of natural armor covering its body. It was used to guard high-value areas. Crash spotted it immediately. His body went rigid, nose twitching. Then he did something Amy had warned people about. He charged. Not attacking, but challenging. He ran straight at the security beast, making a rattling growl in his throat. The security beast, bred and trained to intimidate, took one look at the honey badger racing toward it and backed up. Its handler pulled the leash, confused. Crash stopped a few feet away, standing on his back legs to look bigger, teeth bared. The security beast, 10 times his size, turned its head away and whined. Call off your animal, the handler shouted. Amy whistled. Crash dropped to all fours and trotted back to her, looking pleased with himself. The handler stared in disbelief. What is wrong with it? Does it not understand size? He understands perfectly, Amy said. He just does not care. Word of the incident spread. By dinner, half the academy had heard about the honey badger that made a security beast back down. Chirrick found Amy in the cafeteria and sat down with barely contained excitement. Everyone is talking about Crash. They say he challenged a guard beast. He did, Amy confirmed. But why? The guard beast could have killed him. Maybe, Amy said. But Crash would have hurt it badly first. The guard beast knew that. Animals are not stupid. They calculate risk. Crash makes other predators decide he is not worth the injury. Sral joined them, his expression thoughtful. I have been researching your Earth. I wanted to understand your world's evolutionary pressures. The data is disturbing. Disturbing how? Amy asked. Your world has extreme temperature variations, scarce resources in many regions, countless venomous species, diseases that kill quickly, predators in every environment. How does anything survive? By being tough, Amy said, and adaptable. Earth does not let you specialize too much. You have to handle everything. My world was harsh, Sral said slowly, but predictably harsh. High gravity, limited vegetation. We evolved to be strong enough to handle those conditions, but your world seems designed to kill in 1,000 different ways. Pretty much, Amy agreed. That is why we call it a death world. Over the next few days, Amy noticed a change. Cadets who had dismissed her and Crash now watched with cautious respect. During group exercises, they listened when she spoke. Esrael stopped making jokes about soft humans. He asked questions instead, genuinely curious about Earth's environment and how it shaped its inhabitants. One evening, Lieutenant Brand called Amy to her office. The instructor's space was neat and organized, with awards displayed on one wall. She gestured for Amy to sit. Your performance has been noted by the senior staff, Lieutenant Brand said. Your physical assessments show capabilities we did not expect from human physiology, and your companion animal has become quite famous. I hope Crash has not caused problems, Amy said carefully. On the contrary, he has taught our cadets a valuable lesson. Never judge a threat by size alone. In 3 days, we have a training exercise scheduled. All first-year cadets will participate. It involves navigating the station's maintenance sections while avoiding detection by security systems. You and Crash will be participating together. Understood. Lieutenant Brand leaned forward. There is something else. The station houses a research facility. They study fauna from dangerous worlds. The creatures are kept in secure containment. During your exercise, you will be near that section. The security there is very strict. Follow all protocols exactly. Amy nodded, not fully understanding why this warranted a private meeting. But Lieutenant Brand's expression was serious, her ears flat against her head. It was a sign of concern in her species. Be careful, the instructor said quietly. Some of the research subjects are extremely dangerous. Training day started normally. Amy checked her gear while Crash investigated her backpack for the 3rd time that morning. The honey badger had a habit of checking everything repeatedly, as if the contents might have changed when he was not looking. Other cadets gathered in the assembly area, some nervous, others excited. The exercise was simple in concept but challenging in execution. Navigate the maintenance corridors, avoid sensor detection, reach the designated checkpoint on the other side of the station. Esrael stretched his arms above his head, showing no concern. This will be easy. My species hunted in cave systems. Narrow passages and darkness do not frighten me. Chirik preened her feathers anxiously. I am built for open air, not tight corridors. This is not my strength. Stick with us, Amy suggested. We can work together. Lieutenant Brand briefed the teams one final time. You have 4 hours. Security systems are set to training mode. If you trigger an alarm, you restart from the beginning. Stay away from restricted areas. Especially avoid Research Wing Delta. That section is off limits during this exercise. The cadets dispersed into their assigned groups. Amy's team consisted of her, Crash, Srael, Chirik, and 2 other cadets from species she had not worked with before. One was a being made mostly of flexible tentacles who communicated through color changes. The other had 4 legs and a body covered in thick fur. They entered the maintenance access point and descended into the maze of passages that ran through the station's superstructure. The corridors were dim, lit only by emergency lighting strips. Pipes and conduits ran along the walls and ceiling. Every 100 feet, a sensor node swept the passage with invisible beams. The team moved carefully, timing their movement between sensor sweeps. Crash trotted beside Amy, his claws clicking softly on the metal floor. The honey badger seemed unbothered by the environment, more interested in the strange smells. They made good progress for the first hour. The tentacled cadet proved excellent at spotting sensors. Srael's strength helped them move a stuck maintenance hatch. Even Chirik found ways to contribute, her sharp eyes detecting route markers that others missed. They were halfway to the checkpoint when the alarms started. Not the training alarms. Real emergency klaxons, loud and insistent. Red lights began flashing in the corridors. An automated voice spoke in Galactic Common, repeating the same message over and over. Emergency containment breach. All personnel evacuate to safe zones. Repeat. Containment breach in Research Wing Delta. This is not a drill. The team stopped moving. Srael's translator crackled with static. Did that say Research Wing Delta? That is close to our location. Amy pulled up the station map on her datapad. Their current position was 3 corridors away from the research wing. The checkpoint they were trying to reach was in the opposite direction. But between them and safety was the breach. What is kept in Research Wing Delta? Chirik asked, her voice tight with fear. Predators, Amy said, reading the security notices on her datapad. From high-risk worlds. For study. The tentacled cadet's colors flashed from blue to red repeatedly, the equivalent of panic. The 4-legged cadet made a high-pitched sound that the translators did not bother converting. Srael looked at the ceiling as if he could see through it to the threat above. We need to move in, he said. Back the way we came. They turned around, but before they could retreat, a new announcement came through. Lockdown initiated. All blast doors sealing. Remain in your current position. Security forces responding. Heavy thuds echoed through the corridors as emergency barriers slammed down. One descended right in front of them. cutting off their escape route. They were trapped in a section of maintenance corridor with no clear exit. Amy tried her communicator but only got static. Something was jamming communications. What now? The four-legged cadet asked, its translator making the words sound hollow. Before anyone could answer, they heard it. A sound that did not belong in the maintenance tunnels. A wet, heavy breathing, claws scraping on metal, and something else, a clicking noise that came in rhythmic patterns. It was moving through the corridors, getting closer. Crash suddenly became very alert. His body went rigid, nose pointing toward the source of the sound. A low growl built in his throat, deeper than Amy had heard before. This was not his challenging growl. This was his fighting growl. "Everybody back," Amy said quietly. "Slowly. Do not run." They retreated down the corridor until they found a maintenance room. It was small, filled with equipment and spare parts. Not defensible, but better than an open hallway. They crowded inside. Amy stood near the door, Crash at her feet. The honey badger was completely focused now, every sense locked on the approaching threat. The clicking grew louder. Then they saw it. The creature rounded the corner about 50 feet away. It moved on 6 legs, each ending in curved claws that scored the metal floor. Its body was covered in overlapping plates of natural armor, dark blue and gray. The head was low-slung with multiple eyes that glowed slightly in the dim light. When it opened its mouth, 3 rows of teeth were visible. The creature was young, not fully grown, but still massive. Easily the size of an earth tiger. Dracon juvenile, Sral whispered. From the jungle world Krellis 9, they are apex predators. Pack hunters. There is more than one. Chiric's feathers were completely flattened against her body. As if in answer, another Dracon appeared behind the first. Then a third. 3 of the creatures all focused on the maintenance room where the cadets were hiding. The lead Dracon clicked its claws against the floor. The sound echoed. From somewhere deeper in the corridors, more clicking responded. 6 total, Amy said, reading the emergency bulletin that finally came through on her datapad. 6 juveniles escaped containment. They are hunting together. We need weapons, Sral said. He looked around the maintenance room frantically. Something to fight with. Amy saw tools on the walls. Magnetic wrenches, cutting torches, anything that could be repurposed. But she also saw the Drakons. They moved with coordination, spreading out to cover different angles. These were not mindless beasts. They were intelligent predators using pack tactics. The lead Drakon took a step closer, its eyes fixed on the doorway. The creature was calculating, deciding if the prey was worth the effort. One of the other Drakons moved to flank the room, trying to find another entrance. They were being surrounded. Crash moved to the front, placing himself between Amy and the doorway. The honey badger was a fraction of the Drakon's size, but he showed no hesitation. He made a sound Amy had only heard a few times before, a deep rattling hiss that meant he was ready to fight to the death. The lead Drakon tilted its head, studying this small creature that dared to challenge it. For a long moment, nothing happened. The station alarms continued blaring. Somewhere far away, security forces were trying to respond. But here in this maintenance corridor, it was just cadets and escaped predators. Then the Drakon charged. It moved incredibly fast for something so large. 6 legs ate up the distance in seconds, claws extended, mouth opening wide. The other 2 Drakons flanked it, turning the charge into a coordinated attack. The cadets in the maintenance room screamed. Sral grabbed a wrench, knowing it was useless but unable to just stand there. Chiric tried to make herself small in the corner. Amy did not scream. She grabbed a cutting torch with one hand and positioned herself behind Crash. The honey badger coiled like a spring, waiting. When the Drakon was close enough that Amy could see the texture of its armored plates, Crash launched himself forward. He did not go for the head or the body. He went underneath, sliding between the creature's front legs and targeting the vulnerable joint where leg met torso. His teeth found flesh under the armor plates. The Drakon's momentum carried it forward, but Crash held on, twisting and pulling. The creature screeched, a sound that hurt human ears. It tried to turn and bite at the honey badger, but Crash's loose skin made him impossible to grab effectively. Teeth closed on fur and hide but could not reach anything vital. The other 2 Drakons hesitated, confused by the small predator's aggression. In that moment of confusion, Amy acted. She ignited the cutting torch and thrust it at the nearest Drakon's face. The creature reared back, blinded temporarily by the sudden bright light. Sral, seeing an opening, swung his wrench hard at a leg joint. The metal connected with a solid thunk. The lead Draken finally dislodged Crash by slamming its side into the wall. The honey badger tumbled away but immediately got back to his feet, blood on his muzzle. Not his blood. The Draken had a gash in its leg that was bleeding freely. It looked at Crash with what might have been surprise. Then it looked at its packmates, then back at the maintenance room full of prey that was fighting back. The predator made a decision. It clicked its claws in a specific pattern. All three Drakons began to back away slowly. They were not retreating in fear, but recalculating. The prey was more dangerous than expected. Better to find easier targets. As the Drakons disappeared back into the corridors, Amy heard more clicking. The other three juveniles were still out there somewhere. And now they knew the cadets were here. Silence fell over the maintenance room after the Drakons withdrew. Amy's heart hammered in her chest, adrenaline making her hands shake. She forced herself to breathe slowly, counting to 4 on each inhale and exhale. Crash sat at her feet, licking the Drakon blood from his muzzle. He looked completely calm, as if fighting creatures 10 times his size was just another day. That should not have worked, Sral said quietly. His scales had paled to a sickly yellow-green. Those are apex predators. Your animal is tiny. It should have been crushed instantly. Honey badgers have loose skin, Amy explained, her voice steadier than she felt. When something bites them, it just gets a mouthful of skin and fur. The teeth do not reach anything important. And their skin is thick, really thick. Natural armor. Chirik had her face pressed into the corner, trembling. They will come back. We cannot fight them all. We do not have to fight them all, Amy said. We just have to survive until security gets here. How long has it been since the breach? The four-legged cadet checked a chronometer. 17 minutes. Security response time should be faster, Amy said, frowning. She checked her data pad again. The station map showed their location, but the communication channels were still jammed. She switched to text-only mode and tried sending a distress signal. No response. Something is blocking communication, she said. The Drakons must be causing electromagnetic interference. Some predator species do that when they are frightened or agitated. How do you know this? Sral asked. I studied xenobiology before coming here. Wanted to understand what we might encounter in space. Amy moved to the doorway carefully, looking both directions. The corridor was empty for now, but she could hear clicking in the distance. The Drakons were regrouping, communicating with their pack. We need to move. Staying in one place makes us easy targets. Move where? The tentacled cadet asked, its colors still flashing distress patterns. Amy studied the station map. There is a security checkpoint 3 corridors away. It will have reinforced doors and communication equipment, not affected by the interference. If we can reach it, we can coordinate with the security teams. That means going deeper into the maintenance section, Sisral pointed out, closer to where the Drakons are. Staying here means waiting until they come back with their full pack, Amy countered. 6 against us. I would rather move. The cadets looked at each other. Fear was obvious on every face, translated through different physical expressions. But they also saw something else in Amy's expression. Not fearlessness, but determination. She was scared too, but she was not letting it paralyze her. I will go with you, Sral decided. On my world, we say that movement is life. Standing still is death. I do not want to die in a maintenance corridor, Chirik said, lifting her head. I will come too. The other 2 cadets agreed reluctantly. They gathered what tools they could carry. Amy took the cutting torch and a heavy magnetic wrench. Sral found a pry bar that he could use as a club. Chirik had her natural advantages, flight and sharp eyes. The tentacled cadet could fit through small spaces if needed. The 4-legged cadet was fast, good for carrying warnings. They left the maintenance room in a tight group. Amy took point with Crash slightly ahead. The honey badger's nose was their best early warning system. He could smell things humans could not, sense danger before it became visible. They moved quickly but carefully, checking each intersection before crossing. The station's emergency lighting cast strange shadows. Every pipe and conduit looked like it could be hiding a threat. But they made progress. One corridor, then another. The security checkpoint was getting closer. Amy began to think they might actually make it. Then Crash stopped abruptly. His whole body tensed. A second later, Amy heard it too. Not clicking this time, but heavy breathing. Close, very close. She raised her hand, signaling the group to halt. They froze in place. A Draken emerged from a side passage 10 feet ahead. This one was alone, separated from its pack. It saw them immediately. The creature's multiple eyes focused on the group of cadets. It opened its mouth slightly, showing those 3 rows of teeth, but it did not attack right away. It was being cautious now, remembering what happened before. Amy knew they had seconds to make a decision. Fight or run. If they ran, the Draken would chase and alert its pack. If they fought, they might win but would make noise doing it. Either choice was risky. The Draken made the decision for them. It charged. Amy threw herself sideways, pulling Chirrut with her. The Draken's claws tore through the space where she had been standing. Sral swung his pry bar in a wide arc, connecting with the creature's shoulder plate. The impact rang like a bell, but the armor held. The Draken twisted with surprising speed, snapping at Sral. He barely got his arm back in time. Crash did not wait for an opening. He charged straight at the Draken's underside again, using the same tactic that worked before. But this Drakon had learned from its packmate's injury. It lifted its front legs, trying to stomp the honey badger. Crash dodged left, then right, his small size letting him move faster than the larger creature could track. Amy saw the Draken's attention locked on Crash. She circled wide, cutting torch ready. The creature's armored plates overlapped like scales, but there were gaps, joints, vulnerable points. She waited for the right moment, then struck. The torch flame hit the Draken's rear leg joint. The smell of burning flesh filled the corridor. The creature shrieked and spun around. Its tail whipped through the air, catching Amy in the ribs. She flew backward, hitting the wall hard enough to knock the wind from her lungs. Pain exploded across her side. The cutting torch clattered to the floor. The Draken advanced on her, limping but furious. Amy tried to move, but her body was not responding fast enough. She saw the creature's mouth opening, preparing to bite. Sral appeared from the side, throwing his entire weight against the Drakon. His high-gravity world muscles proved their worth. He knocked the creature off balance. It stumbled, trying to regain footing on 5 working legs. That moment of vulnerability was all Crash needed. He went for the injured rear leg, teeth finding the burned area where armor had been damaged. The Draken screamed again. Chirrut swooped down from above, raking her talons across the creature's eyes. Not enough to blind it, but enough to hurt and distract. The tentacled cadet wrapped limbs around one leg, restricting movement. The 4-legged cadet rammed its head into the Draken's flank. Everyone was fighting now, working together. The Drakon realized it was losing. These prey animals were coordinating, using teamwork to overcome its physical advantages. It broke away, using raw strength to throw off its attackers. Then it limped away down the corridor, leaving a trail of blood. It was retreating, but it was also leading them toward where its pack waited. Amy got to her feet slowly. Her ribs hurt badly, probably cracked. Every breath was painful. But she was alive. They were all alive. She retrieved the cutting torch with shaking hands. "We need to move faster," she said through gritted teeth. "That one will bring the others." They ran now, abandoning stealth. Speed was more important than silence. The security checkpoint entrance came into view ahead. A reinforced door with a keypad. Amy's access code should work. She punched in the numbers with bloody fingers. The door did not respond. She tried again. Nothing. Emergency lockdown, Sral realized. Standard access codes are disabled. Behind them, clicking echoed through the corridors. Multiple sources. The pack was coming. All 6 Drakons hunting together. Amy looked at the sealed door, then at her team. They had maybe 30 seconds before the creatures arrived. 30 seconds to find a solution. Crash sat down and began washing his paws, completely unconcerned with the approaching danger. Amy almost laughed. The honey badger had fought 2 Drakons today and was now grooming himself as if nothing important was happening. That simple act of calm steadied her mind. She studied the door more carefully. Emergency lockdown could be overridden, but it required authorization from security or medical personnel. Her access code was neither. But Dr. Hollis had given Amy emergency contact information when Crash was certified, medical override codes in case the honey badger needed emergency treatment. Amy pulled up the codes on her datapad and entered them. The door light turned green. The lock disengaged. They threw themselves through the opening just as the first Drakon rounded the corner. Amy slammed the door control. The reinforced barrier sealed shut. A second later, something heavy crashed into it from the other side. The door held. They were safe, for now. The security checkpoint was small but well equipped. Monitors showed views of different corridors throughout the station. A communication console occupied one wall, and weapon lockers lined another. Amy immediately went to the console and activated the emergency frequency. Static filled the speakers, but then a voice broke through. "This is Security Command. Identify yourself, Cadet Amy Chen. We have 6 cadets at Checkpoint 7 Delta. We were caught in the lockdown during the training exercise. The Dracon juveniles are right outside our position." There was a pause. "Checkpoint 7 Delta is confirmed secure. Remain in place. Response teams are dealing with the containment breach. Current estimate is 45 minutes before we can reach your location." 45 minutes? Esral looked at the door, which was still shuddering from impacts. "Those creatures will not wait that long." Amy checked the monitors. The screen showed different angles of the corridors outside. 4 Dracons were visible near their door, clicking and scraping at the barrier. 2 more were not on camera, which meant they were exploring other routes. The creatures were smart enough to know their prey had trapped themselves. Now it was just a matter of finding a way in. "The ventilation system," Chirrut said suddenly. "Dracons come from a jungle world with dense canopy. They are good climbers. They will use the air ducts." Amy pulled up the station schematic. The checkpoint had ventilation access points in the ceiling. The openings were small, too narrow for the Dracons to fit through. But she noticed something else. The ducts connected to a larger maintenance shaft 50 feet away. If the Dracons found that access point, they could drop into the corridor surrounding the checkpoint and trap them permanently. "We cannot stay here," Amy said. "This position is not defensible for 45 minutes. The 4-legged cadet made a sound of distress. "But Security Command told us to remain in place." "Security Command is not here," Amy replied. "We are, and we can see things they cannot." She pointed to the monitors. "Look, 2 Dracons just left. They are searching for another way in. When they find it, we will be surrounded with no escape route." Sral examined the weapon lockers. "These require authorization codes we do not have." Amy checked the lockers anyway. They were sealed tight, military-grade security. Even the cutting torch would not get through fast enough. But next to the lockers was an equipment cabinet. She opened it and found emergency gear, respirators, first aid kits, flares, signal devices, and something interesting, a portable shield generator. "What is that for?" Chirrut asked. "Emergency evacuation," Amy read from the label. "Creates a temporary force field. Used to protect personnel moving through dangerous areas." She activated it experimentally. A shimmering barrier appeared about 6 feet across. It held for 10 seconds before shutting down. "Limited power. Maybe 5 or 6 uses before the battery dies." "That is not much protection," the tentacled cadet observed. "It is more than we had before," Amy said. She gathered the equipment, distributing items among the team. Flares to each person, first aid to Chirrut, who had the most delicate handling capability. Shield generator to Esral, who was physically strongest. "We are going to move. Not to escape, but to hunt." Everyone stared at her. "Hunt?" Esral's translator somehow conveyed his disbelief. "Hunt the Dracons? Have you suffered head trauma from the earlier fight?" "Listen to me," Amy said. She pulled up the station map on the main display. 6 Dracons are loose. Security teams are trying to contain them, but the station is huge. The creatures keep moving, spreading out. That makes them hard to catch. But right now 4 of them are right outside this door. They are concentrated, focused on us. If security could reach this position, they could capture most of the pack at once. "But they cannot reach us for 45 minutes, Chirrut said. "No," Amy agreed. "But we can reach them. The Dracons think they are hunting us. They are being aggressive, taking risks. If we make them defensive instead, chase them instead of running, we change the dynamic. Predators do not like being prey." "This is insane," the 4-legged cadet said. "We barely survived 2 encounters. You want to seek out more?" Amy looked at each of them. "On Earth there is a saying, the best defense is a good offense. These creatures are dangerous, but they are also young. Juveniles, they are still learning. We hurt 2 of them already. Made them uncertain. If we keep the pressure on, keep them off balance, we buy time for security to arrive. And if we fail?" the tentacled cadet asked, colors shifting nervously. "Then we were going to fail anyway, sitting in this room waiting for them to find a way in." Amy checked Crash, who had been exploring the checkpoint with great interest. The honey badger seemed ready for round 3. "I am going. You can stay if you want. No judgment." For a long moment nobody spoke. Then Sral picked up the pry bar he had dropped earlier. I am from a warrior culture. We do not hide while others fight. Besides, you will need someone to make loud noises and attract attention. Chirik extended her wings. I can scout from above, warn you of threats. The other two cadets exchanged looks. Finally, they nodded. Scared but willing. Amy outlined a simple plan. They would exit through the checkpoint's emergency access hatch, which opened into a parallel maintenance corridor. Use the access tunnels to flank the Dracons instead of confronting them head-on. Their goal was not to kill the creatures, just to keep them moving and prevent them from organizing an effective hunt. We stick together. No one goes off alone. If someone is injured, everyone stops. We are a pack now. We protect each other. They prepared quickly. Amy used the first aid kit to wrap her injured ribs. Not a real treatment, but enough to let her move without the pain stopping her breathing. She took a stimulant from the medical supplies, knowing she would pay for it later, but needing the energy now. The emergency hatch opened quietly. They slipped into the parallel corridor one by one. Crash went first, nose working constantly. Chirik flew up to the highest point, where she could see in multiple directions. The rest formed a loose diamond formation. Maintaining visual contact, they moved through the maintenance tunnels using a path that would bring them behind the Draken pack. Amy checked the time. 37 minutes until security arrived. They just had to last that long. The first Dracon they encountered was one of the injured ones. It was limping through a corridor alone, separated from its pack. When it saw the cadets, it hesitated. This prey group had heard it before. Was it worth attacking again? Sral did not give it time to decide. He activated the shield generator and charged, yelling at the top of his lungs. The barrier absorbed the Draken's first attack. Then Sral was past it, running full speed down the corridor. The Draken, confused and startled, chased after him. It was a predator's instinct. Chase the running prey, that was the mistake. Sral led it straight into a narrow intersection where the ceiling was lower. The Drakon had trouble maneuvering. Amy and the others caught up, coming from different angles. They used flares to confuse its vision. Bright lights bursting in the dim corridors. Crash harassed its legs, forcing it to constantly turn and watch its flanks. They did not try to fight it seriously. They just made it uncomfortable, scared, uncertain. After 2 minutes of harassment, the Drakon fled. It ran back toward where its pack was, clicking distress signals. Good. Let it tell the others that the prey was fighting back. They repeated the tactic with the second Drakon. Then the third. Each time they appeared from unexpected angles, made noise, caused confusion. The creatures were used to hunting prey that ran away in fear. They did not know how to handle prey that chased them back. By the time security finally arrived, the Drakons were scattered and defensive. They had stopped hunting and started retreating. The security teams, wearing full tactical gear with stun weapons, found the juveniles hiding in corners rather than prowling corridors. Lieutenant Bran arrived with the last security team. She found Amy and her group in a maintenance junction, exhausted but still standing. Crash was sitting on Amy's shoulder, a position he usually refused but seemed to enjoy after a good fight. Explain, Lieutenant Bran demanded. We have 6 traumatized Draken juveniles, a maintenance section that looks like a war zone, and reports that a group of first-year cadets somehow turned a containment breach into a tactical victory. Amy was too tired to think of a clever response. We got lucky, and Crash does not know when to quit. The instructor looked at the honey badger, then at the injured but alive cadets. Her tail swished in a pattern that indicated deep thought. Lucky? Yes, I am sure that is all it was. Her tone suggested she did not believe that for a second. The medical center was busy for the next several hours. Amy's ribs were cracked in 2 places, requiring cellular regeneration treatment. The procedure hurt worse than getting injured, but the medical staff assured her she would heal completely in 3 days. Sral had deep lacerations on one arm from a glancing blow he never mentioned during the fight. Chirik had strained her wing muscles from constant flight. The other 2 cadets had various minor injuries. Crash received a full examination from Dr. Hollis, who found him in perfect health aside from sore paws. The honey badger had bitten through armored hide twice, fought creatures 10 times his size, and his biggest complaint was tired feet. Dr. Hollis laughed while writing her report. Typical honey badger. They are basically indestructible. The next day, Amy was called to Station Commander Roth's office. She had never met the commander before. He was from a species that resembled Earth's salamanders, amphibious and ancient. His people had been traveling space for thousands of years. His office was humid and warm, comfortable for his biology but making Amy sweat in her uniform. "Cadet Chen," Commander Roth said, his voice like gravel in a stream. "I have read the incident reports. Multiple versions from security, medical staff, and your fellow cadets. All say the same thing. You prevented a catastrophe." "We just survived, sir," Amy said. "Security teams captured the Drakons. After you and your team harassed them for 37 minutes and prevented them from organizing an effective hunt. According to our behavioral specialists, juvenile Drakons should have coordinated a pack assault within 15 minutes. Instead, they were scattered and defensive. Your tactics disrupted their natural behavior." Commander Roth pulled up video footage on his display. It showed the corridor fights from security cameras. Amy watched herself and Crash working together, responding to threats with barely any communication needed. She saw Saral using the shield generator to protect others, Chirrut providing aerial reconnaissance, everyone contributing. "This is not typical first-year cadet performance," the commander continued. "Lieutenant Brand believes you have tactical training beyond what your file indicates." "No formal training, sir. But I studied Earth predators extensively. Understanding how they hunt helps you understand how to survive them. Or fight them. And your honey badger, Crash. He performed well above expectations." Amy felt defensive suddenly. "He did what honey badgers do. They do not back down. That is their nature." "Indeed." Commander Roth manipulated the display, showing close-up footage of Crash attacking the first Drakon. "Earth fauna continues to surprise our xenobiologists. We study predators from hundreds of worlds. Most follow predictable patterns. Size determines dominance. Speed determines hunting success. But your world produces creatures that ignore these rules." "Earth is unpredictable," Amy said. "The environment changes constantly. Species that survive are the ones who adapt, who do not give up when things get difficult." "Death world philosophy," the commander mused. "Your planet teaches harsh lessons." He turned off the display. "The inquiry board considered multiple charges against you. Endangering fellow cadets, deviating from security protocols, taking unauthorized action during an emergency." Amy's stomach sank. She had been so focused on surviving that she never considered the consequences. "I understand, sir. However," Commander Roth continued, "the board also noted that your actions likely saved lives. The Drakons were heading toward populated sections of the station. If they had reached the civilian quarters—" He did not finish the sentence. "Your decision to engage was tactically sound given the circumstances. The board has decided not to pursue charges." Relief flooded through Amy. "Thank you, sir. Do not thank me yet. Lieutenant Brand has recommended you for advanced tactical training. Your performance suggests abilities we should develop. This will mean additional coursework, more demanding exercises, higher expectations." "I accept," Amy said immediately. Commander Roth's face did something that might have been a smile. Hard to tell with his species. "I thought you would." Dismissed. Amy left the office and found Sazral waiting in the corridor outside. The reptilian cadet stood when he saw her. "I wanted to apologize," he said without preamble. "For what?" "For dismissing you when you first arrived. For mocking your companion animal. For assuming that size and strength were all that mattered." He looked uncomfortable, his scales shifting color slightly. "My people have a saying. A warrior who cannot admit error is no warrior at all. I was wrong about humans. About Deathworlders. About what makes someone dangerous." Amy considered his words. "You fought well during the breach. You protected others. That matters more than words spoken before. Still, I should apologize. On my world, we respect strength. I thought I understood what strength was. But watching you and Crash fight those Drakons showed me different kinds of strength. Endurance, determination, refusing to quit even when logic says you should." He extended his hand in the human gesture he had learned. "I would be honored to train with you." They shook hands. Sral's grip was careful, conscious of his greater strength. Over the following days, word spread through the academy. The story grew with each retelling, becoming legend. Some versions were accurate, others were exaggerated. But the core truth remained. A first-year human cadet and her honey badger had faced down 6 Drakon juveniles and survived. Other cadets approached Amy with new respect. Some asked about Earth, curious about the world that produced such stubborn survivors. Others wanted to study human tactics. A few requested to meet Crash, who tolerated the attention with his usual indifference. Chirrut became Amy's closest friend. The avian cadet had a sharp mind and appreciated Amy's straightforward nature. They studied together, trained together, and Chirrut learned to understand Crash's moods almost as well as Amy did. The incident changed the Academy's curriculum. Instructors began teaching Deathworld survival strategies alongside traditional military doctrine. Earth predators became case studies in unexpected advantages. Honey badgers specifically became required learning in xenobiology classes. Dr. Hollis revealed something to Amy in a private conversation a week later. They were in the medical center, checking Crash's healing progress after his fights. "I need to tell you something," Dr. Hollis said. "Something that was not in your official briefing. When you applied to bring Crash to the Academy, it was not just as a support animal. The research division has been studying Earth fauna in space environments, seeing how they adapt to stations, alien atmospheres, different gravity. Crash was part of an experimental program." Amy stared at her. "You used me as a test subject?" "Not quite. We gave you real emotional support certification. Everything was legitimate. But we were also curious to see how a honey badger would perform in unpredictable situations, whether the famous fearlessness would hold in alien environments." Dr. Hollis smiled slightly. He exceeded all predictions. "The incident with the Dracons provided data we never expected to gather." Amy did not know whether to be angry or impressed. "Will there be more tests?" "Nothing dangerous or unethical. But yes, we would like to continue observing Crash. With your permission, of course. You have proven that Deathworld species have advantages in space that we never fully appreciated. Your bond with Crash, how you work together, that is valuable information." Amy looked at Crash, who was trying to dig through the medical bay floor again. The honey badger had no idea he was part of anything important. He just did what came naturally. Fight when necessary. Explore constantly. Never give up. "He is not an experiment," Amy said firmly. "He is my partner. If you want to observe him, fine. But he stays with me. We are a team." "Agreed," Dr. Hollis said. "Honestly, after watching the security footage, I do not think anyone would dare separate you two." The semester continued. Training became more challenging as Amy entered advanced courses. But she handled it. The injuries healed. The memories of fighting Dracons faded to manageable nightmares. Life at the Academy found a new normal. One evening, Amy sat in the observation lounge watching ships come and go from the station. Crash was curled up next to her, sleeping after a long day of exploring and causing minor chaos. Sral and Chirrut joined her, carrying drinks from the cafeteria. "I heard new cadets arrived today," Sral said. "The senior cadets are already warning them about underestimating Deathworlders." "We have become a cautionary tale," Chirrut added, sounding amused. Amy smiled. "Good. Maybe the next group of humans who arrive will have an easier time." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Amy thought about how much had changed since she first arrived at the Academy. She had come here uncertain, knowing she was from a world that others considered too harsh, too dangerous. She had expected to prove herself eventually. She never expected it to happen so dramatically. Crash stirred in his sleep, making small growling sounds, probably dreaming about fighting something. Amy scratched behind his ears gently, and the honey badger settled back into peaceful rest. Lieutenant Bran entered the observation lounge and spotted their group. She approached with her usual grace, tail swishing thoughtfully. "Cadet Chen, I wanted to inform you that next semester's advanced tactical course will include a section on asymmetric warfare, fighting opponents who have superior size, strength, or numbers. I would like you to assist in teaching that section. Share your experiences." Amy was surprised. "I am just a first-year cadet." "You are a survivor who turned a disaster into a victory using creativity and determination. That is worth more than rank." Lieutenant Bran looked at Crash. "And your companion has become something of a mascot for the Academy, the honey badger who does not know when to quit. There are worse symbols for military training." After the instructor left, Sral raised his drink. "To Deathworlders, may we never face them as enemies." Chirrut raised hers as well. "To unexpected strength." Amy raised her own drink, looking at Crash. The honey badger opened one eye, saw nothing immediately threatening, and went back to sleep. To Earth, and to everything it taught us about survival. They drank together, 3 cadets from different worlds who had learned that strength came in many forms. Outside the observation window, the galaxy stretched endlessly, full of challenges, dangers, and opportunities. Amy Chen was ready for all of it. And so was Crash, though he would probably sleep through most of the boring parts. The station's lights dimmed to night cycle. Somewhere in the research wing, scientists studied the Draken juveniles and wondered how such fearsome predators had been outfought by a group of first-year cadets and an Earth animal weighing less than 30 pounds. They would write papers about it, develop theories, try to quantify what happened. But Amy knew the truth was simpler. Earth did not produce the biggest predators or the strongest warriors. It produced survivors, creatures and people who kept going when everything said they should stop, who adapted when adaptation seemed impossible, who fought when fighting seemed hopeless. That was the real lesson of the honey badger. Not that it could win every fight, but that it would never stop trying. And sometimes, in a universe full of calculated risks and logical retreats, the one who refused to quit was the one who survived. Crash opened both eyes briefly, yawned, showing all his teeth, then curled into an even tighter ball. Tomorrow there would be new corridors to explore, new cadets to impress, perhaps new challenges to face. But for now, rest was the logical choice. Amy smiled and settled back to watch the stars. The adventure was just beginning.